How would you like to make your first million? And today we have Melissa with us joining us from Texas, and she is the founder of Executive Connect Experience. So, Melissa, tell us what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneur in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
I think there's a couple of things I do that I started when I first made my first million that I got wrong. And I learned the 5 steps that actually work are building the right team. I think when I first started, I was trying to do everything myself. I was trying to run around, and I realized quickly that I couldn't do all the things. So, building the right team and the right people around you is a really quick way to multiply your efforts faster to get more done. So that was step one, building a team around you that can support you. Step two is making sure once the team is built, you're delegating what needs to be done. A lot of times, as leaders, we want to micromanage the process to the people that we're delegating to. And I find that the more that we micromanage the process, we have less time to focus on what we're actually building and the mission. So my focus has always been to keep myself able to focus on the vision, focus on the business versus focusing on the tasks. So that's thing two. Thing three is to make sure that the effort you are putting in is moving the needle. So it's pretty cliche to say smart goals, but what are you measuring? What is success? And making sure you're getting there the way you want to get there. And if you aren't, being able to step back and say, okay, we were hoping to get here, we're not here. What do we need to tune and tweak to make it better? It could be those people that you hired at the beginning. It could be, maybe that you had some setbacks with all different kinds of things. Let's see, that's three. The fourth thing, I make sure that I'm not getting too far over my skis in what I'm spending to build whatever I'm spending. A lot of times when you're outsourcing things, you tend to spend a lot of money outsourcing. To be wise with what we're spending and what we're spending on the business and what we're saving for growing the business. And then the last thing is I'm a really big believer in giving it and paying it forward. So making sure that when you're building something, it's not just 100% for you. I believe that our gifts are our responsibility to build and to develop, but they're ultimately our gifts to give away. So I often believe everything I've ever built and ever done has a give in it, whether it's a give to nonprofits, it's a give to mentoring people, it's a give to what I know to share with other people so they don't make the same mistakes. That's how I've showed up and developed. Those were my 5 success tips from some pain along the way, some lessons learned, Harry.
So, paying forward, what a wonderful concept. And I can see that Executive Connect sounds to me like you are creating a network of people that they can collaborate and help each other. Tell us a little bit more, because I saw your first step is about having the right team, and I can see that now you're creating a business. You said this is the new business that I'm doing. Yes, so I'm under the impression of speaking with the serial entrepreneur. So tell us about what relation have this having the right team in your company that will get you faster to get the first million, and the company that you are starting right now, Executive Connect.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly believe that our world has gone to become very transactional. And it could be just where we are with technology, AI. It's a lot to take. And I believe that to have all the things that we want in the world, we also have to give and we have to develop those relationships versus just showing up and asking. So, Executive Connect is really built out of a place. When I started young, I didn't have all the tools. I grew up very middle class, low middle class. Nobody taught me how to have the right mindset or what imposter syndrome was. Or so I had to learn through what I call dumb tax. I had to make a lot of mistakes, bump and bruise myself along the way. And so Executive Connect is really a place where leaders can show up where they are, what they need at that moment, because leadership is not a one stop shop. It's an evolution of who we become along our way. And Executive Connect, when I was younger, I had the mindset problem. As I got older and I made more money, I had a money problem. I didn't know where to invest my money, so I invested it in the wrong things. And I'm very grateful. I learned a lot of my mistakes in my 20s, and it was because I had an executive council of people around me teaching me right from wrong and helping me learn, don't invest in this, and don't make buy these dumb mortgages for interest only when you're young. And so I didn't know that. I had a broker that said, "Hey, Melissa, go buy interest only loans." Nobody taught me the right way to buy and move real estate until it was that I found a mentor that was moving millions and billions of dollars worth of real estate that showed me how to do it correctly. And so Executive Connect meets people where they are, whether they're early in their career, they're late in their career. And then we build a community of people who need maybe an attorney, or who need AI products, or who need a mindset coach. So we're building a community of people that are supporting people. So people for people.
Property, it's easy to become a millionaire in property. The people, Melissa, we have out of the 500 millionaires that we interview in this podcast, 1 out of 5 are property investors, property entrepreneurs. Of course, they're doing different things. Some of them are doing developing, some of them are doing mortgages. Uh, but our audience could be under the wrong impression. Oh, if 1 out of 5 entrepreneurs, millionaires that come to Harry podcast, they are property investors. Maybe it's easy to become a millionaire doing property. So can you tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly of property investor for our listeners? So is it really that easy to become millionaire? And why 1 out of 5 people that come to this podcast, maybe I'm attracting them. My first business was in property. I don't know. But 1 out of 5 are either in property, the other 1 out of 5 are in tech. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you asked that question. I think that's a fantastic question. And I would take a step back, and I always, for me personally, I've always led with my heart and my gut in all things I've done. And funny enough, Harry, I just wrote a book about the exact question you just asked me. It's called Renaissance: Redefining Success for Modern Mavericks. And the whole book is centered around the soul work of the why. If somebody told you it's the best way to make money is in real estate, but you hate real estate, it's not going to be the best thing for you to do, because it's not going to be joyful and blissful when you're buying and selling real estate, and when your tenants give you a hard time, or a plumbing issue happens. It's just not going to be fun. So I often say, follow where you get the most joy, and the money comes. When you're in joy, you're in bliss, the money follows. I've become a millionaire. I've lost money. I've made more of it. And what I enjoyed along the way is the lessons I've learned and the tools that I put in my toolbox. So for me, I invest in all different things, not just real estate. And that has worked for me. I made the most money in real estate, to your point, but I actually enjoyed doing it. I'm a civil engineer. I enjoy seeing things
Oh
built.
wow! I didn't know this one. You're a I'm an engineer also. I'm a chemical engineer. Wow, you're a civil engineer. Okay, go ahead.
I'm a civil and environmental. Actually, funny enough, I was one of the engineers young in my career that worked on the largest concrete bridge built in the United States. I was in my early 20s.
Wow.
And that's when I started buying real estate. I was in my early 20s. And kind of what I said to you at the beginning, I'm like, oh, this is so easy. I could buy a bunch of property on interest only notes, and then I could put tenants in it, and they're going to pay me double the amount of money. But then the
Hmm.
worm turned and the economy changed, and I
And you
learned
have
a
so much leverage in the
very
bank. Yeah. Welcome to my life.
I learned a lot about leverage and a lot about money management, which goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. People, 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 knowing who to call when things are not working. So a lot of times we think to call, an attorney, an engineer, or a whatever, a CPA when things are broken or we need help with a thing. I suggest we build those relationships on the front end versus on the back end.
Hmm.
At one point in my life, Harry, I had 11 forms of income in my early
Wow.
20s.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
one of those pieces of income, I will tell you, I rented out my car garage in my house. I was single. I had a nice,
Wow.
beautiful home.
Wow.
And my neighbor had a beautiful sports car. And he was complaining about having to drive to pick up the sports car across town. It took him 30 minutes to get there and 30 minutes to get back.
So man, I
And so
rent you my one, my garage. I park my car on the
yeah,
street. Who cares?
but the reason I tell this story is the man was venting to me about a problem he had. I had a solution. I had a work truck that parked down the street, and I had my own personal car that parked in the garage, but I had a two-car garage. So I rented that garage out for $600 to $800 a month for I don't even know how many years. It was
Wow.
no big deal for me. The cost to
Wow.
me, what I paid for was I put a separate lock in the door to the side of the house so he could get in my garage. That's what it cost me. And I made all of that
Wow. What
was
a return on
profit.
investment. Yeah. You see, when this thing happen in your life, something clicks like you say, wow.
And the reason I tell that story is back to your question. A lot of times when I was younger, people are like, go be an engineer instead of an architect because you make more money. Thank goodness I went to engineering school, not so much for the money, but for the way that I think, right? The analytical way that my brain thinks and the reaction that I have to certain things like that. And so to your question, what real estate, tech, it really depends on what interests you and where your network is. If you have no network in real estate and you're starting, I'm sure you can make it. It's just it's a lot of work to get there without a network and without the knowledge. I invested in my first real estate class. I think I was 19 on Robert Kiyosaki's real estate class. I think I spent like 18
Same,
grand
same.
for the class. Yeah, I was
Hmm.
super young. And I learned about real estate because I didn't have an executive network at the time. I had to go teach myself about money, money management, and all of the pieces of it. So, my answer is it depends on what you're the most passionate about. If you hate tech and you hate setting tech up, don't go into tech. But if you love, baking cookies and you could just bake cookies all day until you're sick, go bake the cookies. Just realize it's a very tough market to make a bunch of money in, but it doesn't mean that you can't, right? It just where's your passion? I believe in diversifying my investments. Let me try that a third time. Um, Diversifying my investments because of where the
Mhm.
world is today. So for me, I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I'm very interested in
Very
all
good.
the baskets.
So becoming an entrepreneur by accident, my first business was in property. Yeah, we managed to sell over 5 millions. We were doing the rent to rent. We were renting flats in London and then rented individually by room. They call it rent to rent. It was amazing, right? You didn't need to buy the houses. You didn't need to own those houses. We were doing it rent to rent, and this thing was amazing. Again, same story. Read the book of Roy Kiyosaki. I needed money. And a friend told me property is a good vehicle to make money, which is actually true. The vehicle is good. Um, However, I agree with you. You have to like it. Yeah. And I did. I went to property not because I like it, because of the money, to be honest. So I went there to make money. And of course, if you go there, you can make money. But eventually, even though we sell over 5 million, eventually, if you're not 100% passion about this, it will um, it will dissipate, and you're 100% right. I remember I used to organize this conference in London. I call it Property Investment Summit, right? And I used to bring all the speakers from property, the expert in London in Airbnb, in HMO. They call it the license for multi-occupancy, license of multi-occupancy, HMO. Then we bring a mortgage broker and more people that do with flipping, and all the speakers went there. And I was having a lot of fun with those events. And I remember that one day in the green room, one of my speakers, I think it was the HMO daddy, one guy that have like, I don't know, lots of property of multi-occupancy. And I was doing rent to rent. And he told me, Harry, you know what? If a tenant call you on Sunday at 1 a.m. telling you that the boiler is broken and it needs to be fixed right now, and you get upset about the call, you shouldn't be in the property business doing what you do. That got me to reflect like, well, maybe it's time to try to pursue the passion for me speaking all over the world. I'm training people how to speak. This is what I love it, right? And we have this workshop speakers and leaders around the world. However, Melissa, I'm reflecting in your story because it's photocopy of my one. Yeah, like my parents, they were no entrepreneur. They are teachers, right? So they told me go to university, go to university. So you have to have the degree. So then I went to go to university, 5 years chemical engineering. I give them the degree. They are very happy with this piece of paper. I never been a chemical engineer in my life, right? So this these 5 years of my life made them happy. I don't regret to be in engineering. I think that engineering they give us 5 years math problems, chemistry problems, structural problems. I had to study this same like you in civil engineer, like material resistance and things. It's very complex, and they give you problems. But eventually, after 5 years, you solving virtual problems, it develop a capacity for you to solve problem. When you are an entrepreneur, you have a problem, you're not scared of the problem anymore. You know that problem have different solutions, that you can approach it, that you can do it step by step because you've been trained. So I don't regret my university thing that much. Like other people that actually hate it and they wait 5 years. If you've seen this podcast, the story of the people that been in university and they hate it because they said they waste 5 years, they would show in the business. Well, I'm not there. I learned something on the process. At least I'm not scared when problem come. However, I became like you, an entrepreneur by accident. And what happened? You become an entrepreneur by accident is that's it. You buy a house, you rent a house, you make some money, you're in business, and oh my God, this is where if you don't know anybody, I didn't know anybody. This is where it becomes really hard and really lonely. I remember the first time that I went out with my group of friends. Everybody have a job, obviously. No, I have this in my work. I'm doing this in my job, and then I come there and say, guys, you know what? I opened this business. I'm selling this. I'm making money, and nobody cares. No one, no any single person told me, wow, that's interesting. Well done. No one. The whole thing, when everybody's silent, turn around, they keep joking about the work, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to run out of friends. I need new friends. These friends don't care about what I'm doing, so I'm about to lose my friends. Then you go to my family, and everybody, well, you study engineering. Why you doing this business? You crazy. And no, go and find a job. And then again, the whole family thing over there. And then you are alone there trying to make some money. and you don't know anybody, you don't know any entrepreneur. And when you don't know anybody, you know people like maybe they're not the right advisors, so the only people you know, right? And becomes really lonely, that experience. And that's maybe the main reason why I do this podcast. This podcast is for entrepreneurs. The only people that listen to this podcast is they are entrepreneurs, people that want to be entrepreneurs, people from corporate that want to be an entrepreneur. Since I started this, I knew that we're not going to have millions of followers. Very simple, because entrepreneurs, we are 1 or 2% of the whole population. So this podcast, regardless that a lot of people are following, is just for entrepreneurs. So to create that community. But it's a very lonely journey, especially when things go bad. I remember I started this property, and the property was doing amazing. And but then I decided, dealing with success. A lot of people talk about dealing with failure. Nobody talk about dealing with success. And then you start to make a lot of money, to the point that one day my manager in the property told me, Harry, go home. You don't need to come to this property thing. We grow the company for you. Travel the world if you want. Don't come here. You're talking too much. You don't let us work. Go home. So I'm sitting at home making all this money the first month doing nothing. And right now feel happy and enjoy my moment because I worked really hard for it. I'm thinking like, this is not right. What I'm doing in this house, all this money coming, and I'm not doing anything. And sitting in a dark room watching movies. Watching movies. Guess what happened? After 3 months of being watching movies, receiving all this money without knowing something, I go to Brick Lane in London. I open restaurants. I call it Harry Spanish Tapa, and I lost 200,000 pounds and the and 2 years of my life trying to turn this on. So the point of the story, Melissa, is that when you are describing your journey, is I'm saying this is a photocopy of my life, and it's a photocopy for most of the people that are listening here. Because the fact that you become a good entrepreneur, that doesn't mean that that you are a good investor. It's completely different game. And entrepreneurs, at some point, they have to become good investors, so the money go out and work for them. And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs in this podcast make millions, lose it, make millions, lose it, make millions, lose it. Clearly, they have the capacity to make money, but if they are not good investors, they're gonna is this money is gonna evaporate. So tell us about your journey. What is the lowest point that you have been? Because when I collapsed this restaurant, I lost my girlfriend. Back at the time, it was a disaster. Yeah, and at least when those disasters happen, you can find out what you don't want. I was thinking, oh my god, I never go again in a business that I have to be Monday to Friday. If I'm not inside this thing doesn't work, because this is what happened with my restaurant. After I went out, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want, at least. So tell us a little bit more
Exactly.
about your journey.
Yeah, there's so much there to unpack, but one of the things that you said I think is really a really good nugget, and we learn best from setbacks and breakups and bad business deals and bad mistakes. And so I show up here today and I may look like I have everything figured out, but the truth is, we're all figuring it out. And the difference between, the mega millionaires and me is really just the network and the knowledge. And I believe kind of what you were alluding to. I actually enjoy the struggle personally. It's painful going through it, but I learn a tremendous amount from the
You learn a
struggle.
lot. You learn a lot from the story, right? My goodness.
It's, I will tell you. So back to the house that I was telling you about, the interest only house. I was making so much money. I was 22 maybe, I think, and I'm like, oh my gosh, money is so easy. Why do more people have money? I
Let's buy a
had
Mercedes. Let's buy a nice car.
well, I did have one of those and a gorgeous large.
Absolutely. When you're young and you don't know what you're doing, absolutely. This is the first thing you do.
But to your point, the breakup, I also had a breakup. I lost a job, had a breakup, lost a piece of real estate, like the world. I had 9 people in my family die in the same year. immediate family members are what I would call mentors. One of my mentors that taught me everything I know about a lot of money. Both of them died in a year. One had a heart attack. The other flipped a kayak and drowned. Both my two mentors.
Wow.
And I remember
Wow.
thinking to myself, what in the world is happening to me? Why is everything around me collapsing at the exact same time? Now, I could sit in victim. I could sit in the real estate market. This was in early 2000s, 2000 and between 6 and 2008 when the real estate market was real wonky back then. Or I could pick up myself. I could build a new plan. I stayed on one of my best friend's couch, broke up with my boyfriend, ended up moving back to Vegas to help my parents with the death of family members. And I reset and I took a record of everything I had. What did I have? What did I not have? I ended up giving the piece of real estate back to the bank and I reset. I'm like, okay, there's a reason I've lost everything. Now we have to learn from what just happened and we have to do better the next time. So I went out, I built it again. I made different mistakes the second time. This time I kept the money, but I lost a business, right? And so, to your point, the takeaway here is
That's okay. This, let's go deeper in this one. Yeah, continue.
the takeaway is kind of what you're saying about losing a girlfriend. Sometimes those difficult things are the best thing that happen because you realize the symptoms. Wow, I don't feel good with this relationship. This person doesn't respect me. They don't, whatever the things are in your business or personal lives, you get to take stock of what you want and what you don't want. And so when people show up in your life that or something you don't want, you don't let them in. And I would imagine during that time for you, Harry, your network and your people around you got better. And you kept out a lot of the whiners, moaners, victims, complainers, the world's ending kind of people.
Yeah, all
And
the
you
toxic
sur-
people around my life. But it's
and you
interesting when it's
surrounded
tough.
yourself.
When it's tough, you know who really is with you in those tough moments. This every very quickly, you know which family members we really who really love you, and us that we have constant, failure is part of our life. Again and again, you check during your life when it's there. When things are tough, yeah, people don't people don't know that when we have bad time, our bad times are just temporarily. We entrepreneurs, we always come back in a different form, yeah, and more stronger, more cautious. We It's not that very rare I can see one entrepreneur that just fail and that's it and find a job and quit. um those one that we decide this type of life, we always come back in a different form. And it's interesting when things were tough and the people disappear on your life. And then when things are picking up again, they start to show up again. And you say, hey, where were you? Where were you when things were tough? Yeah. So it's interesting to see how people react, but you can spot, even for team members also, team members. And when COVID, I have to sit with my team and say, guys, we will figure it out. We don't know. Imagine I have an international business doing public speaking around the world: Dubai, Singapore, London. We people and these speakers and leaders, and we traveling all over the world. And it's like you're a music concert. You arrive to the countries, speaking tours, thousands of people waiting for you. And then actually it was when COVID hit, I was even in a tour. And one day I'm about to go to the States. Say, you cannot go to the States. I said, what happened? Said, no, no, no. The whole country is closed, even the airport. So I had to stay. I get stuck in Peru 111 days because we were doing actually a speaking tour over there. And the world changed like that. So again, now you have to reinvent yourself. Luckily for us, we have been reinventing ourselves so many times that we don't even we don't even scare or worry about how which form we're gonna come back. However, Melissa, daily, something that I want to point out very good is that you said, look, I built a business, I lost the business, but I kept the money. This is very profound. This is from someone that actually um, have experience doing business and know what they're talking about. And this is a conversation that I want to. I have a question for you right now, which is a point that I raise here a lot. Okay, because when people are in business, okay, even us, when we go in business by accident, now you start your first business, you make a lot of money, you start to make money, and what we all do, we take all this money, reinvest in the business, take all this money, reinvest in the business, take all this money, reinvest in the business. Guess what happened? COVID come, something happened, an earthquake, a hurricane. The other day, my brother called me. He has a import and export business. Okay, and he bring furniture, decoration from Indonesia, and then he bring it to Spain. He big warehouse, big operation. He had clients all over Europe and all over Europe and Australia and whatever. He called me the other day and told me, Harry, you won't believe. Have you heard the news? I said, no, no, one news. He said, look, it was fire in Spain, close to my warehouse, and the fire just got only 200 meters away from my warehouse. I'm like, what?
Mm.
He said, and I couldn't even go close there to save anything there because the fire brigade closed the whole thing. And the fire, can you believe, kilometers? He said the fire, the wind took the fire 9 miles and only 200 meters my warehouse. And my answer to him was, well, you only need to be in business for these kind of things happen to you. Almost the whole business gone, almost just because a wind in the middle of nowhere, a fire in the middle of nowhere, 9 miles away, very far, the wind moved the whole thing. So, Melissa, the conversation that we articulate with the entrepreneurs is the following. If you have a business and you're making money, okay, why you don't take this money? Buy a property, even if you don't like property, you rent the property, and this money of the rent, you use it for marketing of your business. You know what? If you lose the business, still you have the house that gives you cash flow. Oh, I'm just giving a hypothetical example how to become an entrepreneur and a good and a good money manager to actually, if the business doesn't work, to get the money. This what you just shared with me is very impressive, and I'm very proud that you tell me, Harry, you know what? The business, I did it, it worked for a while, I lost it, but you know what? I kept the money. So, what advice do you have for the people listening to us? So, the people that become like entrepreneur by accident at the beginning, and because I can tell that you are in the end of the cycle, yeah. You mean since very young you start the same like me, right? So we've been and our parents were no entrepreneurs, so we need to learn by try and error, by our mistake. So, what advice you have for the young entrepreneur making money right now that nobody knows how to deal with success, and nobody knows um, what how they can plan effectively in order to keep the money, because it's unfair that you work so hard, you pull this business off, and after lost everything. I don't think it's fair for entrepreneurs, you know.
I think nothing's fair. There's no easy ways to the end. There's no quick and easy ways to things. It's either you're going to do the work or you're not going to do the work. You're going to learn from your mistakes or you're not going to learn from your mistakes. And those that don't learn, the same mistakes keep showing up. So in my case, I had to make a lot more mistakes because I didn't have the wealth team. Now my team of people help me limit the loss of things versus how I had it before. So to answer your question, I would say know where you're going, right? Like if we're going from Austin to Miami, you need to put that address in GPS. And there's many different routes to get to Miami from Austin, but they're all choices along the way to turn left, to turn right, to turn right. But you have the steering wheel and you're holding the steering wheel, telling the car which way to go. Same thing with your money. If you don't know where your money is and you're trusting it with other people, nobody cares more about your money than you, period. And even the people that you're giving your money to, like the financial advisors or wherever your money is going, they're getting paid to manage your money, right? And if you make money, great, they still get paid. If you lose money, great, they still get paid. So the bottom line is know what your buckets are, know what you're willing to give away, what you're willing to keep, and don't just show up as a taker. Like I've seen many greedy people um lose their shorts, I'll say, because they wanted people to rally around them and they didn't rally around the people that were there helping them rise. And so when they needed help on the other side, they were sitting with their pile of money by themselves. And so my thoughts on that is also take care of your health along the way. Invest some of your money in yourself, meaning not just more knowledge to make more money, your mental health, your physical health, your relationships, your travel. I find a lot of times with founders and entrepreneurs, they're like, I'll vacation and I'll rest when my business is making $20 million. But the truth is, there's no guarantee that you're going to see that 20 million or you'll be around for the 20 million. So start living life today. And when you're enjoying what you're doing, you're never actually working. Like I enjoy what I do. I could work 7 days a week and it's not work to me. I just have to be mindful of my family and the people around me and scheduling my time and making sure I'm giving to my community. That's a big part of what I believe entrepreneurship is. So back to the cookie recipe is if I love making cookies, but the world doesn't need another cookie company, the business might not succeed. It's a true statement. But if I first solve the problem for the person that's going to be buying my product, buying my rent, my house, or whatever you're selling or offering for your services, I always play this in my head when I'm building something. I always try to give first and get second. So when I record podcasts, I say a prayer every time that I help one person do one thing that makes their life be a little bit better. When I go to speak on stages, I've spoke around the world, hundreds of different stages. I do the same thing. Give me the words that's going to help one person do one thing. And that's the same thing with what you're saying is if you show up in anything very transactional, you're going to get that back from the people that work for you, your advisors, your family members. Everybody's going to start giving you back what you give out, whether it's abundantly clear or it happens on a slow curve. So my 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 answer to your question is kind of a question with a question, but I think the one thing I would say is the rise is fun and the fall is funner as long as you're learning. And the more that you're learning, the less likely you're going to make the same mistakes if you're learning, and the better you're going to get in the end. So keep learning, keep making mistakes, keep building relationships and taking care of yourself and follow your money.
Mhm.
Follow where your money is going. You got to know where your money is going. Like what you were saying at the beginning, if you don't
Mhm.
know who has your money or who's spending your money or where the money is going at the end of the month, how can you expect to grow
Mhm.
real wealth?
And then become a conscious entrepreneur. So, how about if you can make money and do good at the same time to help your community, to help other entrepreneurs out there that they're going through this journey, and they can seek your support as mentor, but also um, being conscious about your health and your well-being, because sometimes when we start a business we get so inside this to try to make this thing work, and it gets so lonely, and then you have these negative emotions and things like that. I remember when I was young and I started my business. I remember when you arrived to the office. Whoa, I work 12 hours, 14 hours, no stop. You are a hero. Everybody clapping at you. Wow, how can you wait so much? And now if somebody comes and say, Harry, we have a business proposition, but you have to work 14 hours. no stop for months. I will take no way because my health is gonna take a hit on this. Yeah, and so now you look at things in a different way because what's the point to make all the money if you cannot enjoy it? And what's the point to have all this money and then you surrounding yourself with toxic people that make your life miserable? And what's the point to have all this money if what you're doing, making this money, is not actually helping society, but actually um, doing detriments, in terms of social responsibility. We talk a lot about this in this podcast, how to be a conscious entrepreneur, okay? Do good and make money at the same time. But also, we want all the entrepreneurs listening this podcast, and from those ones that are not listening also, to be wealthy, healthy, and happy. Yeah. And I can see, Melissa, you glowing. So tell us, if somebody want to know more about you, how people can find you, how this process work. Can you tell us a little bit more? How they can find, how
Absolutely.
they can buy your book? That I remember there are people listening in the car or in the gym. So, um, how people can buy your book?
Yes, absolutely. Interestingly enough, Harry, it launches today on Amazon for 99 cents for the
Are you
ebook.
launching today?
It's
That's interesting.
today. It's
There you go. You
today.
see?
It's so it launches today, ebook till the end of September. There'll be paperback books. You can
What's the
find me
title?
on
The title of the book? Can you repeat again?
Renaissance.
Uh huh.
Yes, Renaissance Redefining Success for Modern Mavericks. We unpack soul work. We talk a lot about the stories we just talked about today. Very different stories of struggle and turning struggle into strength and how it happened, and then tactical tools. That can all be found on Amazon and on my website called executiveconnectexperience.com. I could also be
Thank you.
found on LinkedIn, Melissa Aarskaug, and I'm happy to connect with your listeners. I'm a big believer in building meaningful, supportive communities wherever I go.
And for all of you listening in this podcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable. How brave entrepreneurs like Melissa break the wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.